Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the Raw Perspective podcast.
It's time to go raw. All right. So first topic I have is, you ever heard the WAP song by Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion?
Yeah, you mentioned it to me about a week ago. I listened to it.
Do you remember what WAP stands for?
Yep, now I do. Wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, so basically the big backlash about this song is it's explicit content.
Yes.
And a lot of people are having problems saying, hey, women should not be talking about stuff like that. And it's not showing good example for younger kids. So what's your take on that?
My take on that is, well, for starters, I believe in freedom of speech. So freedom of speech goes for everything. Mm-hmm. So nothing should be devalued or taken out or anything. So if you want to be a complete idiot with your speech, you could be a complete idiot. If you want to be explicit, you could be explicit. That's where my take is on it. But then my other take is, as a parent, if you think that song is not good for your children to listen to, why are you letting your kids listen to that kind of music in the first place? Or why are you letting them?
Their job to raise your kids.
No, it's not. So I think a lot of that, for me as a parent, if I don't like something that's out there, then I'm going to do what I can to keep that away from my kids, because I don't think that they're mature enough or old enough to handle that kind of content.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's a double standard though. Yep. Because male rappers or singers talk about way nastier stuff.
Yeah, a lot.
And I know there's a little small group of people that hate both. You know, they don't like that kind of singing or rapping, period.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a lot less backlash when a male does it as opposed to females.
Yep.
And I think, you know, that's been happening throughout history. You know, even with Elvis, you remember parents wouldn't let their kids listen to Elvis because, you know, he was shaking his hips and the way that he was dancing, which insinuated, you know, sex. So that's always been going on.
Yeah.
So the big change happened with, remember 2 Live Crew? Uncle Luke?
Yeah, vaguely.
Okay, so they had a battle with the government, and they're the reason why they started printing out the label where it says parent, what did it say? You know, the label on the CDs.
Parental advisory.
Yeah, parental advisories, stuff like that. So it's because of them. Yeah. That's why they started all that stuff. But the change that happened is people are not selling CDs anymore. Everything's all digital.
Yeah, it's all digital.
So unless you have some kind of program or an app on your children's phone, they have access to all that stuff. And you won't know. So I think it's where the bigger change is, because everything is all digital now. You can Google and YouTube anything and find the explicit version.
And even then, that goes back to the parents. If you don't think your kid is mature enough to handle any kind of content, then why are you giving them a phone? Or why are you giving them a phone that's completely unblocked and completely unfiltered? Or why aren't you checking their phone and checking their history and like being involved? I think that goes back to just as a parent, just being involved in your kid's life, even if it seems like you're invading their privacy, that you're raising a kid. So you're going to have to get into some of their private stuff so you can guide them to the right direction.
Yeah, that's another problem. I mean, I don't have any kids. I'm sure you can tell me a lot more about it, but I noticed that a lot of parents try to be their kid's friend.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, like that makes no sense to me.
You could be friendly, but you don't need to be their friend. Not until they're mature enough to be able to understand that you as a parent have the final say for final authority, and that you can teach your kids about authority. That'll help them once they become employees, or even if they're self-employed, they're always going to have somebody hired to answer to. So by teaching your kids that you are that authority, you're preparing your children that they will always have somebody to answer to.
Yeah, they need to listen and pay attention to rules and stuff like that. Because if you're their friend, you tell them to do something, even when you're serious, they're not going to take you seriously.
No, they're not going to take it at all.
We're like, whatever, mom.
Yep.
Shut up, dad. You know, which is totally unacceptable.
Yep.
But, you know, like we said before, it is the parents' responsibility to make sure that their kids are raised correctly and they know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. So when songs like that come out, they're not listening to it and it's not having a negative influence on their lives.
Yeah. Kids get influenced by everything super quick, really easy.
I guess that's the biggest difference between children and adults. Because an adult can listen to a rap song that talks about murder, you know, and sex and all kinds of craziness. And they know it's just entertainment.
Yeah.
Children, they actually believe that these rappers or singers do all the stuff that they're talking about.
Yeah.
And they're easily influenced and try to do it too.
Yeah. And you could even take it in just out of music. You could go to video games, to movies, to any kind of content, any kind of entertainment, or really anything. And the same approach works. Like Call of Duty, a lot of kids think that
Grand Theft Auto as well.
Yeah, you could just run into a battle zone, run and slide across a map and snipe everybody in quick scope and do these crazy moves. And that's not how war works.
Not at all.
It's very slow. It's like a chess game, but
you'd be in a firefight for 6-10 hours.
Yeah.
And these kids don't understand that.
No, they don't. They don't understand that it's completely different. And I think that's where they need to have the maturity level to understand that, okay, this is a video game, or this is a song, or John Wick. Like, I've got 2 kids that I would let watch John Wick. One I won't, just because their maturity levels are different. So because one of them can't, then probably won't let any of them watch all the John Wicks. But my oldest boys, I know that they would know the difference between what is fantasy and what's reality. So it really depends on your kids and their maturity level on what kind of content you would allow them to watch.
Yeah, definitely. They've been trying to get Grand Theft Auto canceled for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I think even when I was a teenager, when the first ones came out, they're trying to get those canceled and off the shelves. And
yeah, I used to love those games, but as a child, I never once wanted to actually do.
No.
Because I understood consequences.
Yep.
You know, a lot of kids, their parents aren't teaching them consequences.
Yep.
And they just try to do. I've seen a lot of stories of people stealing tanks, and you ever see those stories?
Couple
try to be like Grand Theft Auto,
bulldozers, and like some crazy stuff, and some people I think are off the rockers anyway. But I think a lot of it, as a parent, if you hold your kids accountable and wait until they're at the maturity level to understand the difference between reality and fantasy, then it's should avoid most of the problems.
Do you remember the maintenance technician? I think it was last year or 2 years ago that stole a plane.
Yeah.
Dash 8.
Yep.
And the controller asked him, hey, you know what you're doing? He's like, yeah, I've played a lot of simulators. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's crazy how realistic simulators got.
Yep.
Microsoft just released their new simulator 2020 yesterday. And I've played it for a few hours, man. Like, it's realistic.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing about technology is now we can start blurring those lines between make-believe and reality.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that goes back to knowing your maturity level, or knowing your children's maturity level. And if you use it right, you could use it as a tool or an aid to get, like for flight simulator, get them prepared to where they could go to a ground school and be familiar with the cockpit of a Cessna, and be able to get them off the ground faster, versus if you just let them run around and steal airplanes in a game, then it just depends on where you're guiding them and how involved you are in that child's life.
Yeah, because if you you got the right kid that tells you, Dad, I want to be a pilot when I grow up. And that kid's like 10 years old.
Yeah.
You get him a simulator at home.
Yeah.
And he's been flying it for 8 years.
Yep.
By the time he tries to get his pilot's license, that's 8 years of experience. Like,
for the simulators nowadays, yeah.
And it's very realistic.
Yeah.
Realistic if you got all the parts and stuff like that.
Yep.
You know, they're way ahead of the game.
Oh, tons.
Way ahead of the game. They'll be able to hop in there and do everything they need to do. The only thing simulators don't provide is G-forces.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing they'll need to get used to. But besides that, they'll be fine.
That's something I've been trying to teach my kids, is that technology is a very good tool.
Yeah, good or bad, depending on how you use it.
And I've been trying to teach my kids how to use technology for good. It's hard. It's definitely difficult because there is so much bad stuff out there as far as content. But trying to give them that moral guidance where they know what's right and wrong, and that there is consequences for both right and wrong things that they do. So an example is my son. He's in honors classes for everything. And he asked me something for, I think it was like a combo of geometry or trigonometry. He asked me to help him with a problem. I was like, dude, I need like an hour just to like find the information, because I haven't done this for 20 years. So let me figure this out. And then, so I remember how to do it, and then I can show you how to do it. 30 minutes later, he tells me, he's like, never mind, Dad, I figured it out. I watched a couple YouTube videos and some tutorials.
Yeah.
Like, the technology's there where a kid can learn anything they want.
Yeah, man. You remember the days where we used to go to the library to research stuff?
Yeah.
Those days are over.
Yep.
Everything you need is in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
Everything you need.
Growing up, we had an encyclopedia library. So if we wanted to look something up, we had to go in the encyclopedia. If it wasn't in there, and maybe try to look it up at the library. And if it wasn't there, then we'd have to use dial-up internet and wait 5 hours for it to load up just to try to find one answer.
The only bad thing, well, I would say is bad, but I remember back then, you know, in middle school, when we had to go to the library to research stuff, to write papers.
Yeah.
You could plagiarize a little bit and not get caught.
Yep. Not now.
Yeah, not now.
Not now.
Yeah, they got this system, I think, called Turnitin.
Yeah.
And it just searches the entire library of books and papers that have been submitted before.
Yep. And
it gives you a plagiarism score.
Yeah. And
if it's above 25%, you plagiarize too much.
Yeah.
So it's one of the bad things.
Yep. Best story I've heard for that is this kid turned in a paper. He had to write a story about his dog. And the teacher said, "You plagiarized this from your brother." And he goes, "No, I didn't. We have the same dog." So, I mean, yeah, the plagiarizing stuff is pretty much out of the question now. The only downside I see to technology as far as learning and researching is I've noticed that if kids can't find it instantly, they give up quickly.
Wow, really?
Yeah, if they can't find the answer within a couple minutes, they don't want to do anything. But I remember for our generation growing up, if we couldn't find the answer within an hour, we would keep looking. And
you look at different sources because
keep going.
Yeah, it might not be in one place, but maybe it's another place. You just keep searching and searching and searching.
But this generation, they get on their phone or computer, type it in. If they can't find it within the first couple pages on Google,
is it their? You think it's their attention span?
No, I think it's because everything is instant now.
Instant gratification.
Yep. So you go everywhere you go fast food, instantly get your food. Chick-fil-A is a little bit faster though. You go any store, you can get something instantly. If you can't find it in a store, you go to Amazon, you can have it the next day.
Yeah, I just go on Amazon.
It's
that next day delivery.
Everything is that you want or need is on your phone. Like you could, and I think that's the generation of people that were raised now, is you can find anything quickly. And if you can't find it, then you don't need it. And I think that's the mentality that a lot of them have.